Michael Van Ronkel here for HotCars.com. I'm here with a Polaris General. I'm out in the desert. Now you may be looking at this General and thinking to yourself, that looks an awful lot like a RZR. Why would I buy this instead of the RZR? Now the RZR is what made Polaris super famous. You see it in all the ads blasting through the dunes in the American Southwest desert. But the General actually has a lot going on that the RZR, because it's so purposefully built, doesn't really offer from the factory. So I want to walk you through everything great about the General that I've learned so far. But in the meantime, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. It's a little taller, but the specs are relatively similar. This thing comes with 30-inch tires, and it's got 14 inches of suspension travel front and rear. In a RZR, when I was blasting around, I like to keep it in rear-wheel drive, just because of all the drifting. But in this thing, I found a little bit more confidence by putting it in four-wheel drive, because you definitely feel a little tippier just because the weight's a little higher thanks to this roll cage, which is pretty beefed up. Now to start with, this is a General XP4 1000, which translates to a 999cc two-cylinder engine producing 100 horsepower. That is a lot of power in something that only weighs 2,000 pounds. It's got four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and you can put it into single-wheel rear-wheel drive with an open rear differential, which they call turf mode, to protect your lawns if you're using this thing as a ranch truck, which is kind of where it blurs the line between hardcore suspension and ranch cart. Otherwise, it's very similar to a RZR. It's actually got the same track. It's about 4 inches taller. It's got a 10-inch shorter wheelbase, and it's about 10 inches shorter overall in length. But it's much more upright for when you're sitting in the cockpit. You've got normal doors as opposed to the RZR's suicide doors. But then on this, the back doors are suicide doors. It is a little tight to get in and out of. An advantage of the Ranger, if you're driving a Ranger around your ranch, is you can leave the door open and it's a flat design on the floor. So you just slide in. It's not up and in and over. You can see here it's got a front camera to go along with the rear view camera. That's kind of cool, especially because you've got a winch, so you can see when you're pulling something right up close to the front here. Let's get in close here, check out the rear. Very important, we've got a true trailer hitch, 2-inch hitch. This thing can tow up to 1,500 pounds, which is actually the same as a Ranger. Let's take a closer look at some of the suspension stuff. You see the double A-arms, these small axles, they're a little thin. It's got these shocks, which are gigantic, large springs on them. They're piggyback, they're Walker Evans, and you can see that there's a little clicker thing up here that you can turn to adjust those. I'm gonna try and flip up the bed here with one hand, just to show you. It's not too hard. And then you can see under there, the little shock that holds up the bed, and a little bit more of the engine bay here, heat shielded, air box. But pushing it down with one hand is a little bit more difficult because the shock helps you lift it up. Now let's get inside and check out some of the tech features that make this Ride Command edition of the General pretty cool. On the interior here, you squeeze in. It's not the roomiest, but it's fine. The steering wheel is height adjustable, which can help you get in and out. You can see it's a very simple, functional cockpit. You've got plastic everywhere. It needs to be relatively waterproof. Again, Polaris sort of with the jet ski aesthetic. You've got some pads for phones and walkie-talkies. You've got cup holders. You've got the shifter, which in classic Polaris style is a little bit notchy and doesn't always work too well. Here's the rear view mirror, which I really appreciate. It's pretty big. The roof looks like it's a two-piece plastic unit that may or may not be removable, but I wouldn't mess with that. I just wish it had a windshield. Then you flip it on and you get a chance to check out the Ride Command control unit here. Very common across all of the Polaris products these days. It works pretty well. It's supposed to be good for when you're wearing gloves, but I haven't worn gloves yet. Gives you the warning. And then you get all kinds of gauges, which I really like. Engine temp, elevation, battery voltage, a compass two kinds of compasses here. You can flip between your RPMs and your mile per hour. You got your 4-wheel drive and your gear selection here. You can click here and then you get your distance, engine temp and voltage in different gauges. Then you've got the instrument cluster. It has similar displays. You can change all your different functions here, your odometer, trip 1, trip 2, your volts of your battery, 12.2, so it's a little bit low at the moment. And you've got your mile per hour. And then here to the left, you might be able to see you've got headlights, low beams, high beams, and the selector for, this is the turf mode. You can see the single wheel activated. Then in the middle, it's two-wheel drive, rear wheel drive here, and then flip it up and you're in full 4-wheel drive locked. Down in the footwell, you can see the Rockford Fosgate sound system. This General has the Stage 3 Rockford Fosgate sound system. Funny story, when it arrived, the battery was dead. So I pulled out the owner's manual, which is conveniently here in the glove box. The owner's manual says the battery is under the front little compartment here that pops off pretty easily with these things. It turns out it's not. The battery is actually under the fully removable rear seat beneath that helmet back there. Out on the outside, there are some other options that I want to walk you through that you can get on the General that this one does not actually have. Now for 2022, Polaris unveiled the new Ranger SP570, which is optionally available in the North Star package, which is intended for colder winter climates, which gives you a plow mode and an enclosed cabin. This does not have an enclosed cabin, but you can get this with the plow mode, which syncs up with the shifter and allows you to raise and lower a snowplow blade on the front just with the shifter so that you don't drag it or clunk into things when you don't intend to have the plow down. It's half ranch cart, half RZR, somewhere between a mule and a Ranger and a desert machine. It'll do everything, maybe just not quite as fast as the all-out maxed out RZR. This XP4 1000 starts at around 27. This exact one is more like pushing 30, and you can go up as high as like 34, which is true RZR territory. Probably the most impressive part about the General is that even though it isn't a RZR, it drives just so well no matter what you're doing. On the RZR, I'd probably do this little hill in rear-wheel drive only. In the General, I think probably 4-wheel drive. That's pretty good. It definitely takes a little more effort, but this thing has a bed that can fold down. Let's put it back in rear-wheel drive only and see how smoothly it can take this little descent. That's pretty good. Those piggyback shocks do an incredible job. They're not quite as good as the adjustable ones on the RZR with the buttons and the different levels of damping, but that's pretty smooth. In a normal car, that road is really bumpy. You can feel the tippiness right there. Just a little bit. You gotta slow down. Sometimes you gotta take the hard way through. Here's an excellent opportunity. I need to cross some pavement real quick. I'll open the rear differential. You can actually hear it unlock to cross this pavement because I'm gonna make a U-turn and I don't wanna bind up the rear axles. RZR, I could probably just go straight down this at top speed, but in this thing, I wanna be a little bit more careful, so I'll go the easier way, just a little bit. Well, this thing drives really well. I'm actually surprised. You got the longer wheelbase with the 4-door. These Walker Evans shocks are pretty awesome. Anyways, I hope you learned something today. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. Thanks.